Good morning, Coastal Bend. I'm meteorologist Carly Smith, and we are going to get started with this live update now at 9:58 a.m.
Good morning, Coastal Bend.
On this Thursday. Are you ready for the return of roller coaster temperatures? What does that mean? Well, we've got some cold fronts on the way, but first, we are cooler today. Cold front number one moved through the region overnight. So with cold front number one through the coastal bend, we're talking highs in the low 80s. So not quite as warm as nearly 90 degrees, but not quite as cold as normal for this time of year, which is 76 degrees. We are back well above normal by about 11 degrees by Sunday. So we have a warming trend. That's part of the roller coaster ride before our temperatures dip again. Now this isn't looking like an overly strong dip at this point, but there is a chance we could be in the 60s Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week for highs. So we'll see how the trends continue to play out. But right now we are looking at this roller coaster trend, well, because of an active jet stream. And what I mean by active is we don't have zonal flow. We are going to see dips. We're going to see troughs and ridges. So the ridge is associated with the high pressure. The high pressure is the blue H. And essentially what that is doing is it's over Texas right now. That's why we're so nice and sunny outside on this Thursday. By Monday, it's sliding over Florida. That's going to work to steer at the bottom of the screen. You barely see it. That's going to work to steer what is currently Tropical Depression 19, possibly Tropical Storm Sarah. By the end of today, that high pressure will steer it north, crossing the Yucatan Peninsula and then moving into the Gulf of Mexico. But wind shear going to be pretty aggressive, especially in the western Gulf. So we are still not concerned with this system making it to Texas. However, what we are watching are those cold fronts. So I have two cold fronts placed on the map. Essentially, something that I really want to emphasize in this live stream is the exact timing of a cold front or colder air will vary, because what's going to happen is we have this larger area of low pressure really to the north, right? And that is associated with the upper level low. So we have a strong kind of upper level low that's hanging out here, and then pieces of energy are going to spin off from this low and make their way into Texas, or spin off and at least push some of that more cooler air from the north. We're not quite going to get those purples, which are just isobars, lines of constant pressure, but we're not going to quite get those purples, but we are going to see some blues across Texas, which means cooler air is on the way. But let's talk about tropical storm or tropical depression, not tropical storm yet, expected to become tropical storm Sarah later on today, but currently it's tropical depression 19. Wind sustained at 35 miles per hour, so we're not quite at tropical storm strength. The gusts are, it's looking like convection is growing, so the storm is growing. It's increasing in its strength, and that is a sign that it will likely get organized enough to be a tropical storm. The only problem is Honduras, Nicaragua, Belize, Guatemala, all of these locations are going to be land that's interacting with this system that will work to try to weaken it and keep it maybe on the weaker side. The National Hurricane Center forecast has trended weaker. Peak wind gusts now getting up to 50 miles per hour before it makes that northern turn Monday into Tuesday and crosses over the Yucatan Peninsula. So this forecast does bring it into the Gulf as a tropical depression, which is pretty weak. And with all the wind shear in the Gulf, I wouldn't expect it to increase too much, if at all. Likely that wind shear will work to pull it apart, similar to what happened to Rafael. But overall, right now, the path looks like it's headed for Texas. But once we get that high over Florida and once we get that trough setting up, it's going to work to steer it a bit more to the west. So a lot of the forecast models, there are a couple of forecast models that take it north toward Houston, Louisiana, but a lot of the data is still in agreement that it's either going to stall out there in the central Gulf. Well, those are our shorter range models, so they're not going out that far either. Or it's going to continue, the Euro, one of the ones, having it continue toward Florida. So pretty confident in that forecast. The wind shear is going to make Texas a hostile environment, even if something does try to head this way. We will have to watch out for some of those surface lows. Tropical systems do like to go toward surface lows and around surface highs. So that could have an impact on it maybe going a little bit more to the west, but overall I'm pretty confident that this system will be pulled apart if it tries to go north or west at all, or it's going to continue to steer toward Florida. So rainfall forecast data still, oh wait, let's go back. I did want to talk about, this is just another way to show the trough that's setting up. So honestly, this model, so this is the European model, not as aggressive as it once was in some of those lower pressure bars, the lower pressure making it into Texas, but it is still showing signs of cooler air making it into the Lone Star State and even South Texas as we head into next week. So next week is looking like a taste of fall. Temperatures aren't going to be excessively cold, but will be closer to normal. I think that's a good way to put it. Rainfall forecast, keeping all the tropical moisture that's associated with whatever develops there in the Gulf headed toward Florida. So again, another sign of confidence on that forecast. Additionally, you see rain across the plains in Texas. That's where those centers of the low pressure systems are going to set up. However, the cold front's not tapping into quite as much rainfall. The closer you are to where that low is, the heavier your rain is going to be, the more thunderstorms you're going to get. It's kind of that triple point setup where the low meets where the cold front meets the warm front, and then essentially that's where we get some of the strongest thunderstorm activity, and that's where we're going to see the most rain. Today, though, gorgeous. I hope you have a chance to get outside. We have some comments. Hey, Zach. Yeah, 40s, the low, still 6 days away, could change, yeah. Wednesday nights definitely could be in the 40s. I'm not all in on Wednesday morning being in the 40s yet because it has to do with the timing of that cold front. But today we had a cold front move through. We're currently at 71 degrees. We did make it down to 60. That's the coldest temperature I saw here in the coastal bend this morning. 80 degrees by this afternoon. I think we'll make it to high around 81 with sunshine, so about a 10-degree temperature bump still to happen. High pressure is what's keeping us nice and sunny behind this cold front, keeping us with northerly winds until it slides east. So that high pressure sets up over the southeast by Saturday. Our humidity goes up into the weekend. A chance for some rain Sunday into Monday. We're going to be pretty windy as well Sunday and Monday because we're in between these areas, the low pressure system, the surface low that sets up around that deeper low pressure trough, and then the high pressure that's over the southeast. We're going to be in between those, and that enhances our wind. So windy conditions expected Sunday. We're talking gusts that could reach 40 miles per hour. These will be onshore winds out of the southeast. There's all that rainfall I was talking about across the plains, setting up where that low pressure is. I didn't draw the warm front, but that would go up through Nebraska, Missouri, and into Illinois there near St. Louis. That's where that warm front would be Monday morning. That's where most of the rain is going to be. We get a chance for some rain on Monday as this kind of initial front kind of moves through, stalls out, and then lifts back north. A secondary front, now the models aren't in quite agreement. Some models, one model, so I believe this is the European model. The American model, the GFS, has more of one front making it through. The second one or this one that we're looking at has kind of two fronts passing through. One initial front and then a second one kind of following behind it. But what I want to show you is there's the tropical moisture associated with what is likely going to be Tropical Storm Sarah. It gets pulled around that high toward Florida, and so really not concerned with that at all at this point in time. And it weakens as it approaches Florida, which is a good sign, but it will bring a lot of rain to areas that did see a lot of damage with two hurricanes, Helene and Milton. There was another earlier hurricane that hit that same area as well, not quite as strong as Helene and Milton, but still, regardless, I'm sure no one in Florida looking forward to the chance of any type of tropical system hitting them, no matter the strength. But look at this snow possible for the Texas Panhandle. So this is a setup that can bring snow. We get the moisture initially with kind of more of a Pacific oriented trough. Then we get this deeper trough that comes from the Pacific Northwest, bringing colder air into the Texas Panhandle especially, and they could see some snow, which isn't uncommon for this time of year. We get the cold front moving through Wednesday into Thursday. So that's why I think Wednesday night into Thursday morning, definitely a chance that we see lows falling into the 40s if this scenario plays out. But it's still past our 7 days, so I don't have that on there yet. what we were looking at on our muggy meter, I put the two fronts. I think essentially I talked about how these are just pieces of energy spinning off that main upper level low that's creating the trough. And so with a couple of pieces of energy possibly moving through, that Wednesday front could be pushed a little bit more to the center of the day / end of the day, but it's going to continue to drop our dew point. It's going to continue to lower our temperatures and keep temperatures on the cooler side. It's not necessarily another huge drop in things, but it is enough to kind of just reinforce that cooler air and keep it in play a little bit longer. As far as wave action goes, the combination of a tropical system moving into the Gulf of Mexico and cold fronts moving through will have some pretty rough conditions. I'm not confident on beautiful long periods, but the waves are going to pick up, especially Sunday. The waves will start to pick up because our winds are going to be pretty strong onshore, so that starts to enhance our waves. Then we see the cold front change the pressure out in the Gulf of Mexico. We also see potential tropical system. What it will likely be Sarah move into the Gulf of Mexico. So all of that's going to have the waves pretty rowdy heading into next week. Coastal flooding also likely to take place, already taking place, likely to continue because our full moon is November 15th. We tend to see the coastal flooding after the full moon. So I expect that to continue. If you want to check out the full moon, hopefully you looked up this morning, but it is going to rise before the sun sets. So that will be at 4:39 p.m., technically after it's 100% full. This is a supermoon, so if you watch it as it's rising at 4:39 or shortly after, that's when it looks the biggest, is especially at the horizon. This is the last of 4 supermoons, which all that means is it's full at the closest point in the moon's rotation to the Earth, because it's an ellipse. It's not a perfect circle, so it's just at that closest point of rotating around the Earth in its orbit. Coastal flood advisories through at least Saturday likely to be extended. Coastal or small craft advisory is likely going to end by 12 p.m. as our winds calm down. Here's that 7-day forecast again. Gusty winds Sunday and Monday, southeast winds that could gust around 40 miles per hour. The fronts, then clear conditions out. Really dry conditions and cooler conditions on Wednesday. So Wednesday is going to be one of our cooler days. Thursday will likely be cooler as well. We do slowly start to see a warming trend into the weekend, but it's not going to be quite as aggressive, or at least at this point, it doesn't look quite as aggressive as 87 degrees. So that's all I've got for this forecast update. Hopefully y'all are ready for it, and that's going to do it. So let me know still if you have any questions in the comments. I'll try to look back over them, but this is going to be it for our live weather update. I'm meteorologist Carly Smith. The current time